A list of offseason priorities for the Nationals will be between player development and spending in free agency. But what will come first for the Washington Nationals?
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And yes, I am your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me on Twitter at RyanClary11 and also look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts. And later on in today's program, Nationals legend Max Scherzer has the chance to make history tonight against the LA Dodgers. So let's talk about that later on in the show today. It dates back to his Nationals days, and we'll discuss that in this third segment. In the second segment, James Wood, our beloved James Wood. He is a Silver Slugger finalist. Let's talk about just how good of a hitter this guy is going to be, but also get into a potential position change that I think a lot of people would like to see. So we'll discuss that later on in the show today. But we start off discussing what is a bigger offseason priority for the Nationals. Is it player development or is it the free agency? But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And yes, right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. So the Nationals have a lot of things to do this offseason under Paul Taboni. But what is going to be their priority? Is it going to be free agency or is it going to be player development? It's going to be player development. Right now, the Nationals have a bottom payroll, obviously. It's something that the Nationals will have to invest in eventually. You'll have to be bought in by ownership once again. But really, the one thing that I look at this Nationals team and I think to myself, man, they need work, is when it comes to player development. Over the years, the big thing with Mike Rizzo, at least for me, and I think a lot of Nationals fans out there, were, what is this guy doing when it comes to player development? Like James Wood is a success story that we'll talk about later on in the show today. CJ Abrams has been a relatively success story. Mackenzie Gore has been good. But then again, you look at those guys and you're like, okay, CJ was really brought up through the Padres system. Same goes with Mackenzie Gore. James Wood was drafted by the Padres, made a few swing tweaks early on in his career, and carried that over to the Nationals. But outside of that, what has been the Nationals player development so far? Not much. Cade Cavalli has been really good. I mean, we saw him for the first time since 2022 with this team. That's kind of really been it. And right now, with where the Nationals stand, you have to get back to your bread and butter, which is developing prospects. If you look around baseball and some of the top teams in all of baseball at this point, like tonight with the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, while they do spend money in free agency, and while the Blue Jays have brought in George Springer, we talk about extending Vladdy Jr. We've talked about the Dodgers obviously signing Shohei Ohtani, trading for Mookie Betts, signing Freddie Freeman. But if you look around their roster as well, they are littered with talent that they developed. I have always said this. Look at the New York Mets. The New York Mets are a good, well-run organization. I think they will be getting better. But they just kind of have thrown money at their team. They've said, you know what? We're going to give Max Scherzer a ton of money over a few years. We're going to give Justin Verlander a ton of money over a few years. We're going to go out there and we're going to sign Juan Soto to an $800 million contract. Where has that gotten them at this point? Obviously, I would love to have a team that spends like that. I'm not going to say like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. Of course I would. But also, you have to develop talent on your own. And you have to fill out those pieces surrounding those stars that you may get in free agency with homegrown talent. One thing that was special about the 2019 Nationals was that they did exactly that. You had your guys like Max Scherzer, who is obviously one of the best pitchers in baseball at that point, that you spent big on with him. You had your homegrown guys like Ryan Zimmerman Anthony Rendon, Trey Turner, Juan Soto, Victor Robles. But you went out there and you actually established some veteran pieces there through the free agency and trade market. That's kind of what the Nationals should be looking to do. They are never going to be the top spenders in free agency. That's never going to be the case. Will they have a top 10 payroll again someday? I sure hope so. But also, with a top payroll does not equate to a winning team. Player development is so important for this team. And I think the real reason why the Nationals had to make a change in their front office was the lack of player development. This is a big controversial thing, in my opinion. But I truly do believe player development is more important than spending in free agency. I really do believe in that. And I think if you look around baseball, the top organizations, they have this mindset of just taking a bite out of the apple, meaning they want to give their team every single year a chance at that World Series trophy. And how do they do that? Well, think of the Brewers. Obviously, they're not big spenders in free agency, but they do well in player development. The Los Angeles Dodgers, obviously one of the top spenders in baseball. That has to do with them being such a good team, having Ohtani, Freeman, Betts, and all the other players on their roster. Not even to mention Yamamoto and Blake Snell and Roki Sasaki. They have got guys for days and days and days. But they also develop better than anybody else in all of baseball. The Dodgers still have one of the top farm systems in the game. And if you look around baseball, what do teams do? They trade their prospects at the deadline. A team like the Dodgers has been able to sell off talent to get guys like Alex Call from the Nationals and platoon him out in the outfield. But they still have the top talent in the game. So if you're a good team, you don't just have to trade out all your top guys. You can have an assembly line of talent that could help you up in the majors, but also use them as trade pieces to make your team better. That's what sets good organizations up for success. Because right now, the reason why the Nationals really went down under after 2019 was, Steven Strasburg's injury was big. Having Juan Soto gone was big. Trading Trey Turner was huge. But the reason why they had to make those moves was because they were out of prospects to come up and help them win now. That is why you saw a very premature call-up with Luis Garcia back in 2020. He was a 19-year-old kid. He was a good prospect, but by no means was he major league ready. The Nationals had nobody in their farm system. Carter Kieboom fell flat in his head. Guys like Andrew Stevenson, at one point coming out of LSU, there was some promise with him. He kind of fell flat in his head. Mason Denneberg never made it out of Fredericksburg. Jackson Rutledge, a 2019 first-round pick, big disappointment. Eric Fetty, another big disappointment. The Nationals were not able to develop talent, and that is why that well ran dry. And that is really why the Nationals had to tear things up and start completely new. So I want to see the Nationals this offseason prioritize player development. I don't want them going out there and saying, we're going to give a 6-year, $220 million, whatever it could take to get an Alex Bregman. Is Alex Bregman really going to help you too much this year? Is he really going to be that big of a help and get you over the hump? He's not. You've got a ton of other areas that need a lot of help. Starting pitching, the bullpen, your infield defense, your outfield is pretty set, your catcher position. There are so many holes on this team that will be filled eventually with some prospects, hopefully some savvy trades that come along, but also some free agents down the road. So what Paul Taboni has to do this offseason and what he has to prioritize over his first year is getting that player development system back on track for where it should be. Player development is not everything. Winning in today's game is about spending. It's about player development, and it's about savvy trades. The Nationals have had two of those things missing for some time now: free agency and, of course, player development. You have to get the player development side right first before you can go out there and spend and go out and sign a Pete Alonso or a Alex Bregman or bring in your Blake Snell. The Nationals can't do that right now. You have way too many holes that have to be filled through player development and getting prospects up to speed. Now, fortunately for the Nationals, they do have some talent down in the farm system, and they do have some holes that they're going to have to fill eventually. It might take a few years, but that's where the Nationals have to be. Their bread and butter has to be player development moving forward. So let's talk about this next, though. James Wood, who was a player development success story, who worked his way up from Fredericksburg all the way to the Washington Nationals in just 2 seasons. So let's talk about James Wood and the success that he has had, because our guy is a Silver Slugger finalist. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast acting, doctor prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it to get started, and you just connect with a board certified doctor 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms or no in-person appointments. And if you're prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. And the process is so fast, it's simple, and of course it's private as well. And it's all handled by real doctors, and it's about confidence, everybody, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. So visit rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnMLB so they know that we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. James Wood made a move in 2025. He is a Silver Slugger finalist for the Washington Nationals, and this is a big one. I mean, this is someone who had an incredible first half to the season, obviously was chasing down a single season strikeout record by the end of September. That was not very fun to watch, but still, this is someone who is just an incredible talent, and you should be lucky that he is right here, homegrown, and this is what it's about. James Wood is an outfielder finalist in the National League for that Silver Slugger Award. He joins Corbin Carroll of the Arizona Diamondbacks, Pete Crow Armstrong with the Chicago Cubs, our old friend Juan Soto with the New York Mets, Kyle Stowers with the Miami Marlins, Kyle Tucker with the Chicago Cubs, and yes, then there is James Wood with the Washington Nationals. I will just be honest real quick. I don't necessarily think that James Wood is going to win a Silver Slugger. I think James Wood is certainly in the conversation. I think there is a debate to be had, but that is not my personal prediction. I think a lot of these times with these voting systems, they kind of get lost in the recency bias. And James Wood, I mean, we covered it here on the show for a ton of this season in the second half, but the second half was not good for James Wood. And talking about it, he batted 223 with a 690 OPS and a 388 slug, only had 7 home runs in his final 62 games compared to 24 home runs in his first 95 games of the season with a 534 slug. So I do think James Wood will ultimately lose out on this award, but being just 22 years old all season long, he turned 23 in the middle of September, but that was his 22-year-old season. And he did all this as a 22-year-old in my mind. This is just the beginning of James Wood. I think that James Wood is going to be your kind of face of the organization moving forward. I mean, we've talked about it, and, we can talk about Dylan Cruz. We can talk about Cavalli and Gore and Abrams. But James Wood is like the guy. This is your star player. This is the person that you are going to build around for years and years and years. And that's what the Nationals have to do at this point. You have no other choice. James Wood is a star, and you have to treat him as a star. At just 22 years old, I think a lot of people kind of wanted to be a little cautious with how James Wood could be this season. I mean, I was on record before this year. My prediction, my hot take for the Nationals was James would have a 30-30 season. Now, he did not get to 30 stolen bases. He only got to 15 this season. I would have liked to see him get more opportunities because this is one of the fastest guys in the NL East, and he proved that this season. He was a blazing fast guy on the base paths, and he also has the power and also has a defense to back it up. James Wood had an incredible season for the Nationals, having 38 doubles, almost reaching that 40 clip mark there, 31 home runs, and also driving in batters at an elite rate, especially in that first half. And oh, by the way, he was put on a show in the home run derby. I was actually watching a highlight last night of it when James Wood pulled one at Truist Park and literally went out of the stadium at like 480 feet. Was like 118 miles per hour off the bat. It was just a bomb that he hit over in Atlanta. But Nationals fans have to feel good about this. You have to feel good about the Nationals having their star of this organization being recognized. And we could talk about, does he deserve it? Does he not? He certainly deserves to be a finalist. Although I'm not saying he's going to win the award, I think Corbin Carroll has a pretty strong case. I think Juan Soto's got a really strong case. And I also think Kyle Tucker has a really strong case as well. That's kind of my prediction of how things will go for that Silver Slugger finalist. But just the fact that James Wood was recognized as one of the game's best hitters, I think that's a really cool feat. And I think this is something that the Nationals will certainly build on. And I do think you will have a James Wood Silver Slugger trophy sitting there in the 200s over at Nationals Park, and he's going to be recognized as one of the game's better hitters for years to come. But I want to talk about James Wood in a position change, because I think there have been some, not rumors, but speculation through the fan base that James Wood could potentially be a first baseman someday. Not right now. James Wood is a really good left fielder, actually. And I was actually reading something the other day talking about this move, potential move, and I just disagree with it. I think James Wood and the steps that he made at the plate this year were obviously huge. But the biggest improvement from 2024 to 2025 was James Wood's defense. Like, this was a legit, really good left fielder. And we talked about it in 2024. My biggest concern with Wood was, oh my gosh, this guy looks lost in left field. I mean, the arm wasn't really there. He was dropping routine plays. He just kind of didn't really understand it at that point. Like, that's truly how it felt. Obviously, we talked about him coming up through the ranks being a very good defensive center fielder. So I think when everyone said, oh, he's moving to left field, like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But he never really hit the ground running there. But this season, he showed that he is a legit, really good outfielder. And we saw the arm. We saw the range that he could cover. We saw the really good plays that he made. And this is someone who, in my opinion, should stick in left field until the things change. And I don't know what that change would be. Maybe the Nationals have someone come up who is a better left fielder and they want to put James Wood at first base. Maybe they want to use him as a DH if he gets injured or something like that. But I'm not seeking a James Wood position change at any time near the future here. I think James Wood belongs in the left field. I think James Wood is a good left fielder, in fact. I don't think he's going to be a Gold Glove finalist anytime soon. Like, I think he's just a really good left fielder that should stick out there, and the numbers back that up as well. So while people may discuss that, people might think that James Wood is not all that great in left field, the leap that he took from 2024 to 2025 defensively was a big deal. I bet he takes another one into 2026 because this is someone who, again, has gotten better each and every single season and has gotten more comfortable in left field. I bet you he takes another step up in 2026. So next, let's talk about Max Scherzer. In the World Series, he has a chance to make history. The former Washington National, he could do just that this series against the Dodgers. Let's talk about that after this. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get 300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, even followed the live lines during games. For instance, this Monday night, I have got the Chiefs on the money line going up against the Commanders. Jaden Daniels is out, although I do have a Marcus Mariota anytime touchdown scorer prop, so you can do that with our friends at FanDuel and make the fun even more fun by winning some money. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com and download the FanDuel app today and get started. Again, that is FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. That is FanDuel.com. And Max Scherzer has the opportunity to make history tonight. And this is just incredible for Max Scherzer because I think that he is just such a great talent. One of the game's best players in the last 20, 30 years, in my opinion. And of course, he is one of ours with the Washington Nationals. And Max Scherzer right now is the oldest player on a World Series roster this season. And if he makes an appearance in the World Series, he would be one of 2 players ever to appear as a pitcher in a World Series with 4 different teams. Now, the big question is, will he appear? Is he going to start a game? Is he going to come out in a bullpen situation? If the Blue Jays are winning, is he going to come in and have 3 to 4 innings to kind of save their bullpen? That's the kind of situation I believe what will happen with the Blue Jays here. But with the World Series starting tonight, you've got the Dodgers and you've got the Blue Jays. Alex Call, being a former Washington National, going up against Max Scherzer, another former Washington National. There are some really good players here. But also, I do want to talk about Scherzer just more deeply here because I think this means a lot to the Washington Nationals and their fan base here. But this could be Max Scherzer's final series. In fact, that's kind of my prediction at this point, that Max Scherzer is probably going to be retiring after this season. And I think that right now, with where things stand, how can you not be rooting for Max Scherzer to go out there and win another World Series? I mean, this is someone who did it with the Rangers a few years back. He's gotten another bite at the apple with the Detroit Tigers, obviously got there as well with now the Blue Jays, and they have an opportunity to win a World Series. But Max Scherzer is just one of the crown jewels of Major League Baseball. And seeing him go out there every 5 days for the last decade at this point has been a treat to Nationals fans, has been a treat to baseball fans. And if he could go out on top, that would be incredible. But you could also say the same thing with Clayton Kershaw on the other side of it. Lifelong Dodger, he's done after this season. Maybe they win one final one with Kershaw in the rotation for the Dodgers. But this is going to be a really fun World Series. I'm certainly rooting for the Blue Jays. I want them to win. I'm kind of tired of the Dodgers already. And if the Dodgers win, I do think a lot of people in baseball will be calling for some real change moving forward. So that's something that's going to be watched throughout this World Series. But it all starts tonight. Everything you play for is for October, and you get an opportunity to see Max Scherzer make history with the Toronto Blue Jays if he appears in tonight's game. So a Nationals legend going up against another Nationals legend, Alex Call. One of my favorite random Nationals of all time is Alex Call, just so you know. So thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen. If you have not done so already, look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcast. And of course, the video version as well over on YouTube. But you guys enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the World Series tonight. It's a must-see matchup. Dodgers, Blue Jays on Fox, 8 p.m. first pitch. I cannot wait. Have a good one. Go Nats.